joining today's webinar on the consumer. For the next 20 to 25 minutes, we're going to take a detailed look at the consumer and what drives or what can also sometimes inhibit their decision-making process around the menu. We'll look at drivers of healthy and indulgent behavior and product or menu cues that drive that behavior. Then we're going to take another step and break these findings down a bit further to view what we've learned through a slightly different and a bit narrower consumer lens so that we can apply some strategies or action steps for specific consumer targets. With this, we're going to take a look at Technomic's food service consumer segmentation and specifically focus on the segments that are influenced by product and menu cues. So by way of introduction, my name is Sarah Monette. I'm the Senior Director of Consumer Insights and Innovation at Technomic. I've been with Technomic for about 10 years. My background is in consumer behavior and marketing, and I also have a very long history in the restaurant industry. A few things to note: that everybody is on mute and we're not going to be taking questions, but you have my email address here. You can email me anything and I will respond related to this webinar. My email address will also be available at the end of the webinar, so you can get it there as well. And last but not least, I want to thank IFTA for their partnership in this webinar series and for their collaboration in bringing these timely topics to our clients as well as the industry as a whole. So even though this is a webinar, I do want some active participation. So let's start by putting our consumer hats on. Think about the times you go out to a restaurant and the server presents you with the menu. More often than not, you have a wide variety of choices in front of you. So what do you choose? I know that's probably not an easy question, especially not being at a restaurant. It's not an easy answer because a lot of things depend on your mood, the occasion, who else you're with, what you ate that day already, among other things. So it's not an easy answer for consumers either, especially when there are so many menu choices in front of them. Not only are there so many options available to consumers, the options have actually been growing at a very quick pace over the past, I would say, 5 to 10 years. So take, for example, menus on full-service restaurants that fall within the top 500 chains by annual sales. That's what we're looking at here. There was about 42% growth between 2007 and 2013 in the number of menu items. That's only 6 years, and that's pretty significant growth. And we often talk about how variety is a good thing, and I certainly believe it is up until a point. So oftentimes the consumer can be overwhelmed with the options that are in front of them. And as menu options grow, the decisions on what to order can become more and more difficult. And the reason for this is that consumers, they really strive and want to make the best possible decision in any given situation. And with more alternatives to that decision, consumers feel there is a greater opportunity to make a mistake or have that buyer's remorse. So now we have an easier task, or I guess supposedly easier task. So you go out to eat and have a much more limited set of options, a burger and a salad, for example. So what do you choose now? So whether it's these two items representing indulgent and healthy, or a whole set of menu items divided into one of these two camps, consumers have to decide at every meal whether they're going to take that healthy route or that indulgent route. And more often than not, the decision is driven by emotion rather than rationality. So it's important to understand what situations, what feelings, what cues influence those emotionally driven decisions. And that'll help position products and menu items in a way that will break through that noise of all the menu items that are in front of them. So here is where we start to see how emotion influences consumers' decisions when making the choice to eat more indulgent when they're dining out. So when we ask consumers who chose an unhealthy item over a healthy item on their most recent restaurant visit, the reason for doing so, they're very honest about what gets them. It's it's not surprising that the decisions to choose an unhealthy item tend to be more emotional because, I mean, honestly, there isn't a lot of rationality that consumers see in indulging. It's very emotionally driven. At the top, 42% said a craving drove their decision, and 1/3 just wanted to treat themselves. More than a quarter said they just couldn't resist, which obviously goes along with that craving element, as does the fact that 22% said it just, maybe they saw a picture and it looked better or the description sounded better than something healthy. And 17% said they chose an indulgent item that they desired because they had been healthy all day. Perhaps they already went to the gym or they were going to go to the gym later, so they had planned it out. So I guess that one is a bit more rationally driven. Of course, there is always that time and place for the high-calorie or mouth-watering menu item, but when consumers have the willpower, the decisions to eat healthy tend to be driven by their desires to lead a healthy lifestyle. So I think it's really interesting here that the top reason consumers choose to eat healthy items when dining out is to improve their quality of life. So they're looking for healthy items that provide an added benefit. So keep that in mind because this insight is going to be put into context a bit more in a few slides from now. So almost that same percentage, 44%, said they eat healthy to have a balanced or nutritious diet. 1/3 or more eat healthy to lose weight, maintain weight, or improve their health. Again, they are looking for the healthy items to provide something extra for them beyond that hunger satisfaction. And we all know that consumers really are increasingly demanding. They want greater value, a nicer atmosphere, engaging service. They expect more from that same piece of chicken or that same glass of juice that they've always ordered. The mentality is that they want food and beverages that provide the added benefits to contribute to their overall well-being beyond just satisfying their hunger. So when do healthy items win out and when do indulgent menu items win out? Well, more often than not, consumers look to add a side of healthy to their indulgent item or vice versa. They feel they can sprinkle in some indulgences because they're eating healthy. So I'm going to list the top 5 things consumers say they do in order to eat more healthfully at restaurants. At the bottom of the list, number 5, about 36% of consumers said they order based on nutritional content. So it appears that for many consumers, the availability of nutritional content leads to different, also more healthy choices. And number 4, cutting back on beverages. Consumers often associate beverages, soft drinks in particular, with empty calories. One key to combating this is healthier beverage options that provide a functional benefit to consumers, which we're going to be touching on in more detail in a few slides. Number 3, half of consumers make their meal healthier by integrating a healthy item into the meal. To me, this is really fascinating because as consumers, we will believe that an unhealthy item, or unhealthy meal, be it a burger, pizza, ice cream sundae, whatever it is now better for us because we've added vegetables or fruit to it, for example. And number 2, almost 60% skip an appetizer, and not surprising, number 1 is skipping dessert. For these last 2, shareable options and smaller portions at lower price points and at lower calories, but also still tasting great, can influence consumers to purchase and not feel like they're straying too far from their healthy lifestyle or a specific diet that they have, and helps to not break the bank as well. I think a really great concept that does this is Seasons 52. They have mini indulgences for desserts for $2.75 each. So we talked about how consumers are looking for added benefits in the foods and the beverages that they purchase. There are certain menu item or food qualities that especially resonate with consumers. The ones that are listed here are the top 5 menu item descriptors that we tested that consumers say they want and are willing to pay more for. So a full serving of vegetables, jumping around a bit, high in nutrients, and a full serving of fruit strongly imply the positive benefits to consumers. They're doing something good for themselves, and I think these terms resonate strongly, whether the meal is entirely healthy or, more on the verge of being unhealthy. Consumers are also particular about preservatives and consuming protein and dairy products that are hormone and antibiotic-free. These two are attributes that really matter to them and that they are willing to pay more for. Along the lines of consumers looking for those added benefits, those functional benefits, here are the 3 menu descriptors that saw the largest increases in our research between 2012 and 2014. So aiding digestion, the importance of this and the appeal was up 69% over 2012. Energy boosting up 29%, and stress relieving up 27%. So this provides further evidence of the fact that consumers see a lot of value in food and beverage qualities that provide that added benefit and increase their quality of life, or help them to maintain that quality of life. This is also an added value, that they feel commands a higher price point and that they are willing to pay more for. So these descriptors, these 3 in particular, tend to be most prevalent in beverage-focused concepts like juices, smoothies, teas, waters. Vitamin water, for example, now dispenses its beverages via the fountain in food service. They offer everything from, I'm sure you're familiar with vitamin water in retail, they offer everything from energy boosting to stress relieving to varieties that help you focus better. And then also Jamba Juice, great example of their add-ins. They have an energy boost and other add-ins such as the 3G Charger Super Boost, which obviously conveys that energy boosting quality that consumers are looking for. So looking at menu descriptors and taste, the next 2 slides I think are very interesting in this sense. So the food and beverage descriptors that are listed here are the top descriptors that consumers feel makes food taste better. For all of these, at least 50% of consumers agree that they make the food taste better. So fresh is number 1. I really feel that the term fresh and freshness is table stakes today, and that consumers are looking beyond freshness for additional value. The fact of the matter really is that food and beverages that have a fresh appearance and are freshly prepared are largely perceived to taste better. Consumers don't just taste with their mouth, they taste with their eyes, with other senses as well. So if lettuce is wilted or the bread is a bit stale, of course it's not going to taste as good. And the consumer knows this just by looking at it or by picking up the product before they even take a bite. So think about how it's not just the sense of taste, it's a lot of other senses that go into the perception of a food product or a beverage. Along with fresh, real, and premium also very strongly resonate with consumers. So these qualities may be inherent in a lot of products on the menu, but might not always be called out as such. So being more specific about the menu descriptors in a way that is meaningful to consumers is one way to help the consumer, break through that noise of the competing menu items to get to what they care about. So from scratch and homemade descriptors, those are also important and also listed here. And I think also convey an expected level of freshness. And then again, we see the full serving of fruit and vegetables that were on the previous slides. They also have an important impact on perceived taste. On the flip side now, the terms consumers associate with food that tastes worse all have to do with removing something from the food or beverage. So low sugar, low sodium, gluten-free, and so on. Keep this in mind that consumers are much more sensitive to losses. So if you're telling me as a consumer you're taking something away, I'm very sensitive to that as a consumer, much more so than actual gains. So they feel very strongly about how these terms or these qualities being removed from food or beverage will impact the taste and the overall experience. So keep in mind, too, these terms, they are going to be important to a small subset of consumers who follow a specific diet because of a health condition or concern. But for the population as a whole, I would really recommend staying away from these terms and focusing on the qualities of a food or beverage that have more of a desired benefit for consumers rather than taking something away. Okay, so to this point, we have looked at the general population, consumers as a whole, and how they approach healthy versus indulgent eating and the menu cues that are impactful. But we know consumers don't all think and act alike. And there is definitely a spectrum of consumers and how they approach healthy eating in general. So we're taking our 7 consumer segments, and I've lined them up here from the most health-conscious segments to the least health-conscious segments. I would love to get into more detail about each of these, but time permitting, we're going to just focus on more of the demographics and how they approach some of the terms we've already talked about. So, and we're specifically going to focus on the first 4 on the left-hand side that are in green. So here are the 4 consumer segments, the healthier consumer segments. So these consumers make decisions more around healthy eating. They are a bit more conscientious than the other 3, the more functional eaters, the bargain hunters, and the habitual maturers. These consumers think about some of these terms and to a greater extent. And it's not that they're going to eat healthy all the time, but they do make those more conscientious decisions. So let's take health enthusiasts and affluent socializers together because the demographics of these 2 groups are very similar. So they tend skew a bit older, so skew towards baby boomers. They're represented equally, both male and female, so no over-indexing there. They skew heavier Caucasian. The primary difference is that health enthusiasts tend to be lower income, where affluent socializers tend to be upper income. Also not listed here is their dining out frequency. So the health enthusiasts tend to eat out a lot less frequently. They cook at home. They feel they can eat better if they prepare their own meals. Where the affluent socializer, I would say among all segments, fall in the middle towards the upper middle end of dining out as far as frequency goes, and tend to choose higher end restaurants. Now we look at the, on the right-hand side, the food service hobbyists and the busy balancers. Also, on the surface, they appear very similar in terms of their demographic characteristics. So they are both skewing millennial. Food service hobbyists also overrepresented among Gen X. They skew female and are also don't over-index in different ethnic groups. A difference, again, is income level. So food service hobbyists tend to be more middle income, while busy balancers are upper income. As far as dining out frequency goes, these 2 are 2 of the heaviest food service consumers. There's one more who we're not going to talk about. They're more of those functional eaters who don't focus on health and wellness. They're also a very heavy food service consumer. But the hobbyists and the busy balancers, they eat out quite frequently. So now, if we break these 4 segments of consumers down a bit further, so think back about what we've already covered. We've looked at reasons why consumers indulge, reasons why they eat healthy, and what resonates with them. So if the health enthusiast is more of your consumer, the reasons that this consumer is going to indulge is primarily because there are no healthy options available. So imagine this consumer is on a road trip or something and needs to stop at a fast food restaurant and maybe feels there aren't healthy options. That's when they would choose something that's a bit more indulgent. But I would say out of all consumers, health enthusiasts tend to have the strongest willpower. They eat out for that balanced and nutritious diet and also to improve their health. As far as resonating descriptors go, I think this is very interesting. So things that are related to protein or dairy products like grass-fed, farm-raised, high in protein, those resonate very strongly with the health enthusiast, more so than for most other consumer groups. They also care about the additives, so they care very much about picking items that are preservative-free or don't have artificial sweeteners. And then also containing that full serving of fruit or vegetables. We tend to see this, the containing fruit or vegetables skew towards the older generations as well as being important, which the health enthusiast over-indexes among baby boomers. Affluent socializers. They over-index on the image or the description sounding good. So they get the cravings, the influences of what's appearing on the menu can really influence them. They eat healthy for that balanced or nutritious diet and to improve their quality of life and also to feel better both physically and emotionally. So similar to the healthy segment, they look for descriptors that are also related to those proteins, so hormone-free, GMO-free, free-range and cage-free, and farm-raised. These are terms that especially resonate with the affluent socializer and that they're willing to pay more for. Okay, so the third group, food service hobbyists. This group indulges because of cravings. So they tend to eat out a lot. They tend to go out with friends. So they tend to indulge quite a bit. But they also, I would say that they indulge, but then they also like to try to have as balanced of a lifestyle as possible. So when they eat healthy, they do so in order to maintain a nutritious diet, improve their quality of life, lose weight, and just feel better physically and emotionally. The resonating descriptors for this consumer, there are a lot of terms that resonate strongly with them, but I would especially say those functional benefits. So those terms we saw earlier, like aiding digestion, energy boosting, these resonate with the food service hobbyist, and very much so with the next segment we're going to look at. I really think it is a function of age and generational group. So those younger consumers care a lot more about those functional benefits. And compared to the two segments we just looked at, the healthy consumers and the affluent socializers, this food service hobbyist doesn't put as much of an emphasis on those protein-related attributes. Busy balancers, very similar picture as the food service hobbyists. They indulge because they feel they deserve it, and also they may have pre-planned it. They tend to be a very active group. There are a lot of reasons this consumer tends to eat healthy as well. They're all listed here. I think just being able to have that nutritious diet and improving their quality of life, maintaining their weight, feeling better, and warding off any illness or slowing the aging process. Also, those resonating descriptors, it's about health claims and functional benefits. So there we have it. And in conclusion, I just want everyone to keep in mind that consumers are very multidimensional, and they have lots of different needs and lots of different and growing options. So there's always that situational factor and the motivational factors that drive consumers to make whatever decision they do around the menu, around the foods and beverages that they purchase. But we can also help consumers break through the noise and break through the clutter of everything, the 200-plus items that are in front of them, by focusing on the things that they care about and that matter to them. So thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure. Here is my email address again if you want to reach out to me at any point. And please mark your calendar for some upcoming webinars. October 28th is the next webinar on how 2014